This is big, scary Ontario independent pro wrestler Holden Albright, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Oh,
I mean, that's like a lot of goddamn shit.
Wrestle Kingdom 15. It's January 4th once again.
I think it's 2 nights. 2 nights.
Yeah.
And January 5th.
Yes, give me all of them.
And, we never touched on it last week. Hiromu Takahashi won Best of the Super Juniors.
Of course.
God won World Tag League.
As they should.
I mean, didn't I tell you when we first covered World Tag League, I said it's been theirs to lose for the last 3-4 years.
But they, bro, like last year, they were clearly the best tag team, and then they got beat by Finjuice, which was like bullshit.
But they were tag team champions. They needed somebody to fight.
But I get that. But the problem is you can't be sitting up here having Okada run through the goddamn G1 as the best wrestler in the world and not have the best tag team run through everybody like that. So I mean, to me, it's a little inconsistency. But then again, 2020 for New Japan has been inconsistent because Toru Yano is like their fucking MVP, considering the fact that he at one point was leading in the world tags, and he's the king of pro wrestling, and he was at one point in first place in the block for the G1. So his 2020, everybody else is like, fuck 2020, and Yano's like, shit, greatest year ever. So it's crazy with New Japan.
And like I said, as of right now on the 19th of December, more matches probably will be added, but we won't be here to cover those matches, so we're gonna just cover the ones that was made available to us today. So let's get into it.
Get into it.
Match 1, Hiromu Takahashi versus El Phantasmo. Scooter, who wins?
Takahashi.
Kaliko?
The Time Bomb.
I disagree. I think El Phantasmo is going to win this match. And I give you 2 reasons. Number 1, he ain't fucking flying to Japan for 2 nights to lose on the first night. And second, Hiromu has won his last 2 Wrestle Kingdom matches from last year. At some point, he needs to drop one, and he's fighting Ishimori on night 2. And he has an opponent.
No, the winner fights Ishimori on night 2.
No, Takahashi still wins. Takahashi still wins. Fights Ishimori on night.
Really? Because the way that they set it up, or at least for what I was looking at, I could be wrong. But the last time I looked at, they tried to make it seem like the best of the Super Juniors in international versus the best of the Super Juniors in USA. And I get your point why it's like a booty call. I'm not going to fly all the way over there to not get no tail. I get it. But if you look at to the ticking time bomb, yeah, he had his last 2, but keep in mind, New Japan always has this thing where they make the guy look like they could do it again just to fall short. They're sticklers for that. Prime example, Naito 2020 versus Naito 2019.
True.
It was just the inverse. So they're always known for that shit. So I wouldn't, but that's the only reason I would say that he'll win night 1 and lose night 2.
You're actually right, Kaliko. Whoever wins Takahashi versus El Phantasmo goes on to fight Ishimori. So it has to be Takahashi.
Yeah, because it has to be.
He'll win on night 2. El Phantasmo will win on night 2 then.
Yeah, he'll get his win. It just won't be night 1. Like, he'll get the booty, but it just ain't gonna be the first night. You just, hey.
IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match. Tamatanga, Tangaloa, God versus Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi Dangerous Techos. Who wins, Scooter?
Wait, did you say you did say God, right?
God, yeah.
Okay, 'cause I could have sworn I heard a D. Yeah, this is it's the Gorillas to take the titles.
Kaliko?
After embarrassing them last year, give them the goddamn belts back. God damn, like yo, God.
Because they didn't fly all the way from America.
They ain't flying all the way
to
from the
Japan.
islands to lose. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. See, there you go. That's gonna be our theme for every American wrestler. I'm not flying. Like when Moxley eventually gets back, I ain't flying all the way back there. So take the fucking out.
Great Khan versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. Scooter.
And I'm probably gonna get laughed at for this. I'm gonna say Great Khan.
Kaliko?
I was gonna say the same thing because Tanahashi, it doesn't hurt him whether he wins or loses this match.
And plus, this is kind of such an odd
Odd, yes. Oh, there's the gang of those.
Yeah.
There's a gang of
It's
those.
odd because Tanahashi usually has something lined up for Wrestle Kingdom. Not the case this year. Is it worse to have a match against Great Khan or not be on the card at all for Tanahashi? Scooter?
When we invent time travel, we'll come back and answer that question.
Fair enough. Well, Kaliko, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, he's on the card because, like we said, to me, he's the John Cena of fucking New Japan. So it would be dumb not to put him on the card. Like he's still got them hoes screaming his name. So as long as that happens, and they want to see him, they'll see him, and he'll be there. Win, lose, draw.
Like, I'm wondering why they didn't maybe just try to do Tanahashi and Minoru Suzuki just for the hell of it.
That would have been interesting, but it was just like Suzuki was kind of busy with Tagachi, and that's where, with the never open weight thing, so Suzuki was too busy trying to legitimize him in a sense, and it's just like a bunch of people were already dancing, and Tanahashi was really just stuck in a tag team with Kota, and
that went nowhere.
Right? And then when the G1 came, everybody knew Kota was going to be the defending champ, and Tanahashi's just kind of floating, and that's basically what he's doing. He's floating around. He'll take whatever matches he gets, and I mean, at this point, he's earned that distinction. Like, hell, I'll wrestle who the fuck I want. So,
talking about something drawn together, Will Ospreay versus Kazuchika Okada. Scooter, who wins?
Whew. I gotta go with Okada.
Kaliko?
Okada. I mean, I feel like Okada's been like the most betrayed guy in like the last 3 years. Like everybody's like, fuck Okada at this point. So to me,
staying in the early 90s to 95.
Listen,
I know Gato says fuck you.
Okada
Gato says fuck you.
Because he didn't drive 5 minutes from his house to lose to Will Ospreay.
He did not drive 10 blocks from an Uber to lose to Will Ospreay.
He did not get up out of bed just to go downstairs and wrestle Well,
Exactly. I feel like Okada's gonna win because 2021's coming. He's gonna be one of the ambassadors. He's gotta be Okada.
And probably the most controversial match on the card, Tetsuya Naito defends the IWGP Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship against Kota Ibushi. Who wins Scooter Dust?
I'm thinking there's going to be a double pin.
No, that can't happen. They would never do that in New Japan.
Yeah, one thing New Japan don't do is that funk. And they'll do a draw before they do that funky shit. Straight up.
Would you?
If Coda doesn't win, and then he's basically essentially relegated to a last minute match for night 2, and considering that he essentially had the G1 victory taken away from him, it's I get a very, very weird feeling that we could be seeing not a triple threat match on night 2, but an actual old school triangle match.
Like they did at WrestleMania 10?
No, like they did at Starrcade 95.
For somebody that didn't watch Starrcade 95, could you maybe elaborate?
After the World Cup of Wrestling, where it was WCW versus New Japan, Sting, Lex Luger, Sting, Luger, and Flair, Ric Flair had a triangle match. And WCW's triangle matches were essentially you had to pin or submit or eliminate both people.
Okay.
Yeah. The old school triple threat before it was like the person whoever loses the match.
And Flair ended up winning that after getting both Sting and Luger counted out.
Ooh.
And then Flair goes on to in the immediate match following, Flair gets a title shot, beats Randy Savage, I've got a very, it's a gut feeling.
What? And Kaliko, who wins?
He was very intriguing on that, but you're right. This could go two ways. But here's why it's going to be Naito. And this is why. Remember 2 years ago when Naito lost to Okada, and then the next year they did the first experiment of this 2-night shit, and who was night 1?
Naito
versus Jay White. So there's history there.
All right.
And you know how New Japan likes to call it back. I'm telling you,
Yes,
they're like callback kings, yo. And Kota losing is not gonna hurt him because to me, he's gonna be the first challenger for Jay White when Jay White wins the motherfucker on night 2. So this is where, because I've always felt like when Jay White lost that match this year, actually, I always felt like by him being in that night 1 main event, he set himself as that top gaijin. As much as Will Ospreay was doing his thing and flippy shit and and whoop-de-whoop, culturally, Jay White was like up there. He's in that top echelon. I felt like Evil reign was Jay White's reign. Personally,
Right, because Jay
to
White couldn't get there.
couldn't make it exactly. I felt like that should have been Jay White. So that's where I think Naito's going to win to lose to Jay White on night 2, cementing Jay White as that top gaijin. And that's where I see it.
Well, I see. Now, did you watch Naito's press conference when he won MVP of 2020 from Tokyo Spring?
Oh, and he had the food ordered and he brought the like
Yes.
yo, he had his own banquet in that bitch.
That told me I'm not winning at Wrestle Kingdom, so I don't give a fuck. And I'm doing what I want up until that day when I have to do the favor for Kota Ibushi. That's what I got out of that interview. And if you notice, those last 2 nights that Naito came for matches for Super Junior and Tag League, he
Right.
was old Naito. He was,
Lethargic.
He was heel Naito. He was Rhoda Naito. Well, he was how we originally saw him in 2015. So that
Honestly,
just tells me, I'm gonna act and I'm gonna do what I want because you want me to drop these titles to Kota Ibushi on night 1, and I'm not even in the equation the next night, and that's my take on it.
I can see that point, but I could also make the argument Naito never changed at all. It's just that people bought into his shit. Like he never changed at all. People just bought into the shit that he was selling, right? To me, and that's why and otherwise, if Kota was going to win, he would have been on night 2. That's why I say Jay White's winning, because Jay White's in that night 2. Somebody's closing with him he's closing as the champ. And that's why I think it's more important for him to beat Naito than to beat the guy he beat the briefcase from. Like, unless that's just like what Scooter was saying, and it's all a ruse for Kota Ibushi to overcome the odds, which that could be in the cards as well. But I just don't. New Japan never goes off script and going back and giving that person the run back.
Well, we'll talk about the Jay White match in a couple minutes. Let's get to night 2. Taiji Ishimori versus Hiromu Takahashi. I only say Takahashi because all 3 of us picked him to win the night 1 match. So Scooter,
right.
Who wins?
Well, Takahashi's gonna ride this wave out. And say Takahashi is the new junior heavyweight champion.
And Kaliko?
If Naito's losing night 1, then that means Takahashi's going to have to win, because he's the second most popular guy in that group.
Right.
So I would think if Naito's losing the belts, which I believe, he'll get his belt back, and it'll be kind of like a feel-good, melancholy shit for LIJ.
I gotta go with Takahashi as well. Never Openweight Championship match. Jeff Cobb versus Shingo Takagi. Scooter.
If Cobb wins, they're going to rename the title to Never Open a Salad Weight Championship.
With the mini corns on the wait for it. Cobb.
Or maybe a Cobb salad.
Cobb salad. I was going.
Takagi. Cobb has fallen and he's continuing to fall.
Kaliko?
Yeah, Shingo. He is basically his division. Not saying that Cobb. I mean, Cobb to me is in New Japan is like what Juice Robinson was in his first couple years. So yeah, he's taking them lumps, man.
You know, there's 3 LIJ matches on this card currently, and there's at least one loser out of all of them. And I think we could all agree Hiromu is going to win his championship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think maybe Takagi wins, but that brings us to that third match I was speaking of. Sonata versus Evil. If Takagi and Hiromu wins, I'm thinking Evil has to win this one. Scooter, do you agree?
Hmm. This is again another. It's another interesting match because they had decent showings in the G1 and against each other. Wait, did they against each
Yeah,
other?
they
Did they
wrestled.
ever?
Yeah,
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 Yeah.
they wrestled each other. Yeah.
yeah. And I believe that was on. Was
I want to
that
say that's how Sonata got in to
yeah?
the final.
Yeah,
I'm
it
saying
was.
yeah. It was on Sonata's upswing at the
Yeah.
G1. So yeah, I gotta say, Evil probably gets the win back.
Kaliko?
Evil next. And it hurts me to say that. You know Sonata's my boy, but I don't see it. His big win was coming back in that G1. That's about as good as he was going to get it in 2020.
And that brings us to our double championship main event once again. Jay White versus Ito Tetsuya Naito Kota Ibushi. We've talked quite a lot about this match. I say it's Kota Ibushi Jay White. Kota Ibushi goes over. Scooter, you said it should be a triangle match.
And I'm actually going to amend that because while we've heard that a certain someone will not be at Wrestle Kingdom,
John Moxley?
I'm thinking that's a lie. And I would not be surprised if Moxley shows up for night 2 and puts the U.S. title into this mix.
Triple champion.
And it ends up being a 4-way. But if that doesn't happen, which it likely won't, yeah, I mean, you know what? Yeah, whoever's champion going in is gonna win, and it's gonna show that Jay White's victory to take the G1 contract from Coda was in vain, and that there are no shortcuts to the top.
But Kaliko disagrees with that, because you picked Jay White to win on night 2 against Naito, correct?
Right. Because of the simple fact where, like, if if you're going off of what happened, if you paid attention to the last 3 years, the first year, or the last 2 years rather, 2019 was like you would have the fans felt like the Atlanta Falcons when they blew the Super Bowl. Like that's how it felt. And in 2020, by him beating Jay White, it gave the fans that hope, like, oh my God, Naito could do it. And then Naito went on to do it. Now, fast forward to this year, to me, I think he's facing an old foe. And to me, this is where I think that if you were thinking your lethargic Naito was going to kick in, I would think it would kick in against somebody he felt he beat last year.
And that's a good point.
Rather than someone, it's almost kind of like when Kenny finally beat Okada and he felt like he was the shit and nothing could touch him against Naito because he already kind of beat him, and then Naito ended up winning. That's where I think the scenario is going to play. So I think Naito wins night 1, walks into night 2, thinking it's going to be an easy cake, and Jay White gets it. And he's owed it in a sense because he had that belt for like a month and a half just to lose it at fucking MSG. Then they put him in this hopeful main event. Well, he beats Naito for the IC title, rather, becomes a champ, walks in the Wrestle Kingdom as the champ, gets his ass whooped by Naito. Now he's back as the briefcase holder. Something's got to give. God damn it.
I think there's also another factor we're forgetting.
That being?
Do you think they are gonna pull something out for New Year's Dash?
That's right.
They usually
do.
But to me, I feel like that would be, and this is what I've been thinking from the beginning. I felt like that was going to be the start of the implosion of the Bullet Club because of the simple fact that Evil won the title and people kind of saw him as a de facto leader by having the belt. And I think Jay White getting it puts them two at odds in a sense. Not to maybe eventually to fight down the line, but it's going to be some jealousy there because you got a person who has it and you got a person in the same club who had it and would love to want it again.
I'm thinking G1 2021.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it's going to rear its head eventually. But that's where I think this is where the seeds get planted.
And we will conclude our coverage of New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 and 2 preview. And we will be reviewing both of those shows and New Year's Dash on January 9th.